Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. I'm Dailey, a young adult science fiction and fantasy author, and today we are going to talk about how to start writing a book. I've been talking to a lot of friends recently that all say they have all of these great ideas and want to write a book, but they don't know where to start. It can get really stressful, chaotic, and confusing when you don't know how to translate 1,000 sticky notes that all say, "This would make a great book." I've heard advice that when someone says, "I don't know where to start writing a book," you're supposed to sit down and write a little bit each day. And while I think that's great advice, I think it's missing a big step in between. How are you supposed to sit down and write without knowing where to begin? Well, I'm here to help you. Step 1, let's set aside doubt. That's going to be your first hurdle. It'll be your second hurdle, third, fourth, your 50th, and your 100th hurdle. Doubt is always going to be there, but rest assured, yes, you can. You can do this. If you really want this, if you really want to write a book, you can do this. That leads me to step 2. You will do this. So why am I doing this? Why am I saying that step 1 and step 2 are yes you can and yes you will? Seems kind of ridiculous, doesn't it? Well, the first step to writing a book is believing in yourself. It's believing that you can write a whole book. It's a lot of work, and there will be times that you will doubt yourself. You will have to revisit steps 1 and 2 like 1,000 times, I promise. But your story deserves to be told. You can do this, and you will do this. You're going to do the thing, and it's going to be awesome. But awesome takes time and a constant barrage of you telling yourself that you can do this and you will do this through all of the doubt and negativity that you are definitely going to feed yourself. But you tell yourself you can and will, you revisit those steps every day. Every day. Step 3, get organized. Take all of those little slips of paper that you have your notes on and put them in a Word document, or make bullet points in a journal, or tack them to the wall. It doesn't matter. Get organized the best way that suits you and how you like to organize yourself. There's no right way to do this. As you read through all of those notes that you have, you'll start formulating an idea for a plot or a character or a world or a concept, and it'll start really kind of coming through to you. You want to come up? Yeah, there you go. If you think you have a bunch of great ideas that don't necessarily belong in the same book, that's fine. Make a different Word document or a different section in the same document. Make a different journal for them. How do you pick which story to build from? Well, pick the one that most excites you. The thing that you can't stop thinking about. The thing that keeps having ideas form for you and you keep adding to it. And you're just excited about the story or characters and that you can't get rid of them. You're going to go with that story. The thing about the beginning process is it's like this big amoeba or cloud. It's amorphous and weird and constantly shifting and changing and taking shape into something. You're going to get a lot more ideas even after you start writing, and you're going to need a place to keep them, that document or journal, however you want to work. And it needs to be easy to access, something that's really easy for you and how you work in your life. V.E. Schwab said recently, "People ask me where my ideas come from, as if ideas are meals, when they're really ingredients I gather over time until I'm ready to make one." And that's exactly what you guys are doing, giving yourself a place to put all of your ingredients. Step 4, brainstorm. Writers all start in different places. Some start big with a concept or world, building downward, asking themselves what kind of characters would inhabit it, while other writers start with character, someone they think is interesting, and build up into what world they would inhabit. Diana Gabaldon, the author of Outlander, actually starts with an object for inspiration and builds up and out, like what kind of story that object would have inhabited. Inhabited. Yep, inhabited. I said it right. We're fine. Everything's fine. All the while, let your imagination build something. Let yourself daydream. Start thinking about characters and places that fit into the ideas on those little post-it note that you made. Things that might fit into that story or world that you're thinking about building. Think about the time, the setting, the world building. Do some research on history or clothing if you need to. Think about who the characters are. How many characters are there? And what changes those characters could go through? Keep in mind, these steps can take a while. There's no set time for anything. It's all about fitting this into you and your life. Step 5. Now it's time to build. This is the step where knowing more about writing, craft, and storytelling is going to be helpful. Maybe you're writing your first book and you don't know everything yet. And that's okay. The more books you read and the more things you learn about writing and story, what works and doesn't work, the more prepared you're going to be to write a whole novel. Regardless, you have to start somewhere, right? For a solid start, you can decide what age group you're writing for, or what genre you're writing in. Knowing these things can put you a step ahead toward being professionally published. For age group, is this story for kids or adults? Answering the age group question can be important early on because it'll tell you what themes to use or words to use, and what audience your story is targeting. But your story can be changed later if it fits better somewhere else. So don't panic. It's fine if you don't know this yet. For genre, is it about space, elves, detectives, historical figures? I know, it's not always that cut and dry. Sometimes these things aren't easy to answer right away, especially if you're not 100% on what your story even is yet. And that's okay. Pick a few genres that feel right. Sure, it's easier to write a book knowing this answer up front, because you can then mold the story to the genre, but you can also figure it out on the way. It's okay. Now, where to start building? You should start where it feels right for your work, or with what you're most excited about, or where it's easiest to start. You could literally start with any of these things I'm about to mention. There's no right way to do this. Once you have your nuggets of ideas laid out though, my suggestion on where to start is with your main character. When starting with the main character, you can describe him or her or they, if that's what you need to help yourself kind of get into who the character is. But honestly, you don't have to worry about this right now. It's technically irrelevant at this moment. I know, but TR, I want to describe them. Okay, go for it. This is your book, you do you. I'm just saying that unless the story is about something in their physicality, you don't need the information right up front. You could easily swap hair colors and body types later on down the road. So there are a few places you can start when you're starting with your main character. 4 of them actually. Number 1, start with the character's GMC. That's goal, motivation, and conflict. I'll have a video on this later, but for right now, what do they want to achieve or avoid? Goal. Why do they want it? Motivation. And what stands in their way of achieving it? The conflict. Number 2, start with their main personality traits. Make it simple for yourself. Start with a good one and a bad one, a strength and a weakness. Build from there. What are their ultimate goals in life? Or make it easier on yourself. What do they want a week from now or tomorrow? Do they want a physical object or do they want to be a different person? Then connect your character's weakness to their goal, making sure they compete with each other. Number 3, start with a basic past or history. Make it a paragraph. Make it a 30-page Bible. Do whatever works for you and what you think is necessary for you to get to know your character. But know that this is just for you. It's just for you to figure out who your character is and where they've been in their life. Note that the more work you do in their backstory, the more you're going to want to insert that information into the book because you've worked so hard on it. And a lot of times, it's not going to be necessary. So refrain from inserting character backstory into your book until you really get to know your plot and what is necessary to say about your character's backstory in the plot. Number 4, consider their internal and external goals. What do they want on the inside? The thing that will make their world better, that can heal them on the inside. Maybe they don't even know what that is yet. Maybe it changes through the book. Then consider the plot. What are they physically trying to achieve? You can raise tension by making the character's internal goal and external goals compete. For example, maybe your main character wants love from a particular person. That's an internal goal. But he also needs to get a magical talisman to save his sick grandma. An external goal, or the plot. But the person that he wants love from is also the person keeping the magical talisman away from him. There's your tension. My leg is so asleep, dude. Oh my god, he's fallen asleep on my leg and I can't move. Huxley. Huxley. It's just like a ragdoll effect of him just draped over my lap. Cool, so we're still in character, but let's go back and do the same exact thing with your villain. Make sure that the villain is the opposite of the hero. If the hero loves order, the villain is going to love chaos. It doesn't have to be so black and white, and it doesn't really even have to be two people. Your main character can be battling elements, nature, society, even themselves. What I'm talking about here is just the conflict. The conflict has to be opposite of what the hero wants. Take a look at your main character's wants, and make sure that whatever your conflict or villain is, wants the opposite, or at least wants it in a different way that battles against whatever your character's goals or beliefs are. Then build characters out from there. Create secondary and tertiary characters. What do you need in the story? A love interest? A best friend? A close sibling? A pet? Secondary characters will be there for the whole story and mean everything to the hero. Tertiary characters will come and go, but will still play an important part on your main character's journey. They're not nobodies. Every character serves a purpose. Don't want to start with character? That's okay. Oh, okay, buddy. See you later, Hux. So maybe you want to start with setting. For setting, there are a few ways to go about this. One is to know everything. You can fill out a story Bible. That's an outline that asks tons of in-depth questions about your world, like the nature, religion, politics, literally everything, until you know everything about your world and setting. Or you can build setting as you go, only knowing information that's necessary to the story at the time that you're writing it. But basically, you need place and time. Place. Where is it located? What does it feel like? What is the mood or atmosphere in this place at this time? If you've built your character, how does the place conflict with the character's goals? How will these places make him or her or they feel? Time. Think about the time. Is it historic, futuristic, or present? And what does the present, or future, or past look like? What details go into that? Is your story taking place in a day, a week, a year, or is it like 100-year saga? Is there a countdown? Something that needs to happen by a certain time. When I say to start with setting, you don't necessarily need to start with the entire place or time right now. It's just an idea to get you kind of brainstorming and get you formulating into an idea of a plot, but you can always return to these things later. Lastly, you can start with plot. This is the story as a whole, on its own. Writing the plot directly correlates to what the main character and the main villain or conflict want. So when writing the plot, I highly suggest you consider the characters' wants and goals at the same time. But let's say you know you want a certain exciting thing to happen. Maybe it's on one of your post-it notes. Let's use an earthquake as an example. Does the earthquake happen at the beginning of the novel and the rest of it is about the characters working through the aftermath? Or does it happen at the end of the novel and it's about your characters building and preparing for and possibly even avoiding the impending earthquake? Either way, they'll start somewhere. There needs to be a beginning, middle, and end. Decide kind of where you want all of your notes to happen in your plot, reorganizing as you go, and build out from there, piecing it all together like a giant plot puzzle. Then you can take each of the points in your notes that you know you want to happen and look at the cause and effect throughout the plot, kind of building linearly from there. After building these things at a basic level, which build nuggets of plot, you have another choice to make. You have to decide if you're a plotter or a pantser. If you don't know which you are, you can play both and see what works best for you. If you're a pantser, you can start at chapter 1 and just go. You can just start writing from there, with the idea in mind of what plot elements you want to hit up along the way as you're writing. Or, if you're a plotter, you can plot out the novel by creating an outline and furthering your building of that plot and character puzzle and how everything will play out until you're ready to write. And then, step 6, write. Just focus on getting the words on the page. This is that step where you sit down and write a little bit each day. I have 2 pieces of advice in this stage. Number 1, this is the first draft. Don't worry about how cruddy the writing is right now. Everyone's first drafts suck. Right now, all you're doing is getting the words out there. You'll have plenty of drafts to edit later. Even if you think you've outlined to perfection, and there's no way you're going to be editing later, you're going to be editing later. Don't kid yourself. The earlier you accept that editing stage is inevitable, the freer you will feel when drafting. However, number 2 for my advice is that I also understand that it's hard not worrying about your crappy writing. I hear my first piece of advice about not worrying about your crappy drafts all the time. And honestly, it's exhausting. Because let's admit, we will still go back and tweak that sentence or reread that chapter or alter that character's name halfway through. And that's okay too. It's part of the process. The point is, just don't slave over things right now. If you feel like you're obsessing over a scene or chapter and it won't let you move on until you have it just right, put a note on it that says, make this better, and move on. Take a breath, take a step back. Tell yourself you'll come back to it later. It's okay to want to edit a character's hair color or entire character arc halfway through. The point of the don't worry about the editing right now phase is that later, in the actual editing phase, it's not going to matter what color hair they have if you have to delete the whole character. And you won't know that until later. There's no point in slaving over those things now until the whole thing is written. But right now, you're ready to start writing. Okay, maybe not ready, but you're getting there. It's a long process. So much longer than you think. But go back to steps 1 and 2. Get rid of your doubt. You can do this, and you will do this. I wish you the best of luck on your new book. That's all I have for you guys today. See you later. Jealous. You are acting hurt, sir. There is no way that from the couch to here you hurt your ankle.
Liar. Such a liar, pants.
I see you have more opinions. I hope my phone hasn't been in the shot. I haven't been doing this, have I? I really hope not. I'm not going back.